Imagine you're a project manager and you need to coordinate with teams that speak different languages with respect to their work. Now imagine having a universal translator that lets you say, create a user dashboard in plain English, and it automatically translates your request into each team's specialized language. Without this translator, you need to learn 4 different technical languages. This is what Model Context Protocol or MCP is all about. So basically MCP standardizes this translation layer so AI agents or LLMs can seamlessly talk to databases, APIs, cloud services, and any other system without developers having to build custom integrations for each one of them. And that is why we're going to be building this content creation AI agent using Inngest Agentkit, which can research topic, create high quality content, and store everything in a PostgreSQL database using Neon's MCP. Now, before creating our AI agent, let's understand Neon MCP, which will help our agent handle our database, create projects, read write data, and much more. So click the link in the description down below and you will land on Neon. And this is the database that we will be using for our AI agent. So let me just quickly go on and log in right here. I'll click on Google and there we go. We are logged in. You can see my previous projects over here as well. Now we will be getting the Neon's API key in just a moment. But before that, let's go to their documentation for Neon MCP Server. So as you can see over here, it is an open source tool that lets you interact with your Neon Postgres databases in natural languages. Something like if you say, list all my Neon projects, it will do that and it will show you the list of your Neon projects. It can create a database, whatever you wanna, create it by. And if you scroll down, you will see that they support a bunch of different MCP clients, like if you use Cursor, Windsurf, Cloud Desktop, Client Z, and much more. In our case, we will be using the Ingest's Agentkit, so I'll show you how you can make a custom setup for this as well. You can define it just like this, which we are going to do in just a moment. Now, there are multiple ways how you can install this MCP server inside of your project. You can either use npm or you can use something like Smithry. Now, what is Smithry? If you open this link, so you can imagine it something like npm but for MCP servers. So if I search Neon over here, you can see Neon database, and it provides a bunch of different, MCP server over here as well, whatever you want to use, right? In our case, we are going to be using Neon database. Now you can see they have given the complete guide over here on how you can, install this in local, or what you can do. You can just go on over here. You can click on this copy button and this will ask you to log in. Let's just log in. Here we go. I am in. Now, if you click on copy button over here, it will ask you to enter your Neon API key. Now, how do you get this Neon API key? If you go back to your Neon console, click on settings over here and click on API keys, and you can create a new API key right over here. So let's call it MCP tutorial. Click on create. And there we go. It has given me with this API key. Just copy it up and paste it right over here and click on connect. Now this has given you this string right here. So I'm just going to copy it up for now. And I've opened VS Code over here, and right here, let's create index.ts file and I'll paste it here for now, right? We don't need it currently, but we will come back to it very soon. Now, over here you can see it provides us these different types of tools from Neon. You can click on view 10 more and you will see the complete list of these tools right here. Now, what if my agent wants to see what are the projects that I've created? I can click on run over here. I'll just provide empty params and just click on run and make sure that you have connected your DB right here. And you can see it has given me all of my projects just like this. If I want to create a new project over here, I can do that as well. But I'm not going to do it because I will allow my AI agent to do all of this work, right? I'm just simply going to connect my MCP with my agent and it will take care of all of these things, right? I'll just provide it with a simple prompt that, give me content for this thing, and it will do all of the research, store it inside of the database and provide it to me. So what I'll do, I'll go back to my VS Code and I'm going to say npm init and press enter. It will ask me a few questions. Package name, MCP tutorial, yes. Version, enter, description. Just keep on entering the okay, so entry point, I'm just going to say index.ts, or rather I'll say src/index.ts. I'll put it inside of the src. Press enter, git repository, enter all of these. Yes, is that okay? Yep, let's go. And this will give us a package.json file so that we can start installing our dependencies and working on our project, right? So let me just move it to an src folder. So src, and let's just do one thing for this URL. I'm just going to be storing it inside of a Neon server URL. variables. So I'll put it inside of a backtick, and this is the API key, right? So I'll just take it and I'll create a new file .env and I'll put it inside of this .env. Let's just say Smithery API key, right? Let's take this and we will be using this variable over here. So I'll say process.env.smithery API key. Yep, something like this. This variable will be useful for us when we go on and build our agent right here inside of this file. Alright, now that we have understood what MCPs are and we have taken the example of Neon MCP as well, let's understand what AI agents are and how they differ from our traditional AI LLMs. So let's take an example. Imagine you have a prompt something like, plan me a vacation to Japan. Now what a traditional AI like ChatGPT will do over here, it will say something like, here's the suggested itinerary, it will provide some hotel recommendations, stuff like that, right? That's it. You get the information, but now you have to search for flights yourself, book hotels yourself, check visa requirements for yourself, make restaurant reservation, plan transportation, etc., right? But how an AI agent differs over here, it can check your passport expiration, it can research flight prices for you, it can book hotels based on your budget, right? With payments and everything. It can make restaurant reservations, create daily itinerary, and probably also send you all of these details in form of an email, right? So it's completely on you how you want to create this AI agent and how powerful you want it to be, how many tools that you want to provide it to this AI agent. And to create similar agent is where Agentkit comes into picture. So make sure to click the link in description and you will land on this page. So Inngest Agentkit is a TypeScript library to create and orchestrate AI agent, right? And it supports numerous LLMs over here like OpenAI, Anthropic, Gemini, etc. Right? If you scroll down right here, this is probably the best way to understand this. So this is how Agentkit works. We have a network over here, or we can have multiple networks as well. Now imagine this network as a vacation planner, right? This agent is responsible for booking your hotels. This agent is responsible for booking your flights. This agent is responsible for checking if your passport has expired or not. So you can have multiple different agents inside this network, and how will you decide which agent to call or how AI will decide is where this router comes into picture. And again, don't worry, I will show you how these things come together inside of our app, right? So this router will decide, okay, first I need to check for flights and then book hotels, etc. In our case, this router will probably first go and ask it to, give some data on whatever content that we are trying to create. Then it will structure that content with respect to title, description, all of the research topics that it got, like from wherever it got. And then it will call a tool for storing it inside of our database, right? So these are what tools are all about. And these can be used by multiple agents as well, right? And again, you can see we have different choices for models here. Now, there's one more thing, which is state, which can be accessed throughout your agent network. Like for example, if you have booked your flights, it will take that information over here and it will provide it to the other agent, which is responsible for booking the hotel. So it will search the hotel around the airport, right? Something like this. And since this Agentkit is built by Inngest, which you may have seen in my previous videos as well, which helps us to create scheduled functions or, run cron jobs behind the scenes. So if I click on agents over here, you can see you can create agents to accomplish specific tasks with tools inside of a network. So if I scroll down, you can see it is a simple agent that we can create using this createAgent function, which will be imported from Inngest/Agentkit. And you can see we are giving this prompt right here, that you are a programmer, you need to perform this, and all these things, right? And you can run an agent, something like this. But you can make an agent a part of a network as well, as I mentioned. So if I go to this networks tab right here, you can see it says combine one or more agents inside of a network. So you can see it has multiple different agents right here. Now, as I mentioned, if we have multiple agents, we need to decide how we are going to be running these agents, right? And that is where router comes into picture. So if I click on over here called the network router, so yeah, let's take an example. So something like this. Inside of a network, we have this router callback, which takes the state of our application and it decides which agent it needs to call right here, right? Something like this. I know it might be a little bit confusing right now, but as we go on and create our agent, it will be much more clearer. And again, over here inside the agents, we have tools as well, right? We can create different tools. So yeah, I guess enough talking. Let's go on and deep dive into the code and understand how this will work. First of all, let's just install Agentkit. So I'll go to quick start right here and install Agentkit. So npm install. So So I'll just paste it right here, npm install at ingest/agentkit. We also need to install .env to read our environment variables and Zod validation library. Now where will Zod come into picture? So if I go back to the docs, you can see when we are creating a tool over here, it's taking the parameters, right? In our app, it will be many more parameters, right? But you can see it is validating all of the data that is coming inside of it, right? So over here, it's saying an array of objects containing user ID, right? If any other data is provided, it will give errors. And then it will take this data and provide it to this handler right here, right? We'll come back to this as well. Also, since we're using TypeScript, I'm going to say npm install tsx type script and at types/node and press enter. And inside of our package.json file, we're going to be having a start script to run our app. So tsx src/index.ts. So let's see if I just say connected to Neon MCP over here for now, and I'm going to say npm start. It should give this right here. Yes, connected to Neon MCP server. Cool. Now, first thing that I want you to do over here is just click the link in the description down below to Inngest and just sign in on this platform. Because this is where we will be deploying our agent, right? So click on sign in, click on Google, and there we go. I am signed in successfully. Great. All right. So first of all, let's import the things that we are going to be needing. So I'll say import from at ingest/agentkit. Right, so we're gonna be needing create agent, we're gonna need to create network, we're gonna need to create tool, and we can also import the model that we are going to be using. So in our case, we're gonna be using Anthropic. If you want, you can use Gemini over here as well by importing Gemini, right? But it's generally recommended to use Anthropic or OpenAI models for the best compatibility. We will also be importing .env, and I'll say .env.config. So that it reads our .env file. So that it reads our environment variables from over here. Now, you might remember that I showed you this diagram earlier, right? And it had this tool right here, right? Now, as I told you, agents can have one or more tools, right? And let's say in our case, when we are done creating the content, we are going to be calling a tool, which let's say call done tool, right? And done tool will basically set the completed status, or like inside of the state, it will set a completed variable to be true so that we know that yes, we have generated the content and we don't need to call this agent again and again, right? So let's go back to our code and create this tool first, because after this tool is created, then we will be going on and creating our agent. So I'll say const done tool. Now, how do you create a tool? Let's see their documentation. So inside of over here, tools, right? This is how you create a tool. So you have this create tool function that we have imported earlier, just like this. And inside of this create tool, it first of all takes a name, which in this case, let's say done, right? It also takes a description. So I'm going to be saying, call this tool when the content creation is finished. Okay. It takes the parameters, and this is where Zod comes into picture, so that we validate all of the values that we are getting from the AI or our agent, right? So if I just copy it up and paste it right here. Now let's see. Let me just remove all of this inside of it. And first of all, this will have a title of our content, right? So I'll say Z will be imported from Zod, Z dot, it will be a string. And I'll say describe, this will be the title of the created content. We can also give the summary that what is the word count of the content created. So this will be Z dot number, and also the summary. That is the brief summary of what was created. Now we don't need to return it right away over here, the whole content, right? So we will just return the summary, and the whole content will be stored inside of our database so that we can fetch it from any app or website, whatever that we want. Okay. Then I'm going to say handler, and this handler is where we can write our logic by having a callback over here. Now, what does this take? It takes two things: the parameters, these parameters with the values. So let's say parameters, or we can also destructure them. I'm going to say title, summary, word count, right? The second thing it takes is the context. So context actually contains three things: the agent's context, network's context, or the current step that we are in, right? So in this case, we want the network's context because we want to set the state of completed to be true inside of the network, right? So we want to manipulate our network's state. So over here, let me just have a console log as well, that done tool called. And then after this, I'm just gonna say network.state. Let me just put a conditional chaining right here. .kv, that is key value pair dot set. I'm gonna set the value of completed to be true. Let's also provide all of these values inside of our network as well if we need it later on, right? Then after that, simply we can probably show inside of our console log what is the content that we have created. Like this is optional. So content completed with this title and this word count. Let's just also show the summary, right? And finally, after this, we can return what we have created right here, right? So something like this. Awesome. All right, now that we have our done tool, let's go on and create our agent now. How do we create our agent? Let's go back and see. We have this agents concept right here, right? So you can see create agent. So it takes a name, it takes a system prompt. This is the main thing for us. And also the model that we are going to be using over here, the LLM. Now there's one more thing, it takes a description over here as well. Like if you are using an agent inside of a network, like this type of network, right, where multiple agents are present, you need to provide a description as well so that our network knows which agent to call first. Okay, let's see. So I'm gonna say const content creator agent, create agent, and then inside of it I'll provide a name. Let's say content creator. We're gonna provide a description. Creates high quality content by researching topics and storing in database. And now we also need to provide a system prompt over here. Now this is going to be a bit long, so what I would recommend you guys is just open my GitHub repository from the link in description down below and just go to my index.ts file right here and just copy this system prompt from over here. So let's start from here all the way to right here, and don't worry, I'll explain you what this is all about. And I'm gonna paste it right here. So let's see what's happening over here. So we're first of all telling it that you are a professional content creation assistant. Your workflow is this. You need to research the topic using your web search capabilities, check existing database tables, create new ones if needed, right? So this is something that it will take care of all by itself, right? We only need to configure the MCP, which we will be doing in just a moment. We don't need to do anything. It will do it all on its own. Generate high quality engaging content, store the content metadata in database using SQL, and call the done tool when it is finished. Now, one thing over here, notice I have provided it the recommended database schema, which is optional. If you want, you can avoid this whole step right here. If you want, you can avoid providing it the SQL, but I had this specific structure in mind. That's why I decided let's just provide it so that it helps it a little bit, right? If you don't want to provide this exact SQL, you can also tell it that keep the title, content, topic, content type, etc. and create another table with research sources and provide all of these things, right? So it's completely optional. I wanted it to be more explicit what I wanted. That's why I provided it. Then after that, I've provided some content creation guidelines, which I feel will look good. And then in the end, I'm going to say always call the done tool when you are finished creating and storing the content inside of our database, right? So cool then. This is the brain of our content creation agent, right? That is why we are creating the agent right here. Now, obviously, how will it work? We need to provide it with a large language model as well, right? So I'm going to say model, and you can use variety of different models over here. You can use Anthropic, right? You can use Gemini, which, as I mentioned, has a little bit some bugs right now, but Inngest's team is working on fixing them. And you can also use OpenAI, right? So I'm going to use Anthropic. Inside of it, you need to define your model. So I'm going to say model to be, they have provided a bunch of different models right here. You can see I'm going to be using Claude 3.5 Sonnet latest because it's, in my opinion, is the best one currently. I'm going to say default parameters, and I'm going to say what are the max tokens that it should use at once, right? So it does not use all of the tokens of our model. And then in the end, let's just provide it with the tools, which is our done tool. All right, this looks good. But obviously we need to provide the model's API key over here as well. So let's just do that. Just Google Anthropic API and click on this Anthropic console right here. Let's continue with Google. And there we go. We are in. Now click on over here in the API keys and generate a new API key for you. Now, one more thing, you obviously need to have some credits right over here, right? So like, for example, I've purchased $5 worth of credits, but don't worry, you get plenty of usage with these credits. Or if you don't want to use Claude, obviously you can use free Gemini API as well. So it's your choice. I'm going to be using Claude API right here. Right, so I've generated my API key by clicking on create key, and you can name it and click on add. I'm going to say tutorial, click on add. And now I'm going to take it and I'll paste it right here. Just like this, I'm going to say Anthropic API key, and I've pasted my whole API key over here. All right, now it should be ready to work. By the way, these default parameters have more options over here. Like for example, temperature, that means how creative you want the model to be. So it's default by 1.0. It can be from 0 to 1. Our agent also needs the details of the MCP server that it needs to connect to. Like it can be one or more MCP servers, right? So I'll say MCP servers, and inside of it is where we will be providing the details about a neon MCP server. So I'll say name to be neon, and I'll say transport. That means how it needs to connect. Inside of it, it has things like type, URL, auth provider. So type basically means the connection method, right? So it has three types of connection method: SSC, streamable HTTP, WS. The WS means WebSocket. It's for real-time bidirectional communications and stuff, and generally is more helpful with local MCP server, right? Since we are using Smithery, we will be using streamable HTTP, and the SSE or the server-side events is more useful for one-way streaming, right? Okay, and now I'm gonna say URL, and I will provide this URL over here, neon server URL. So I'll just say neon server URL dot to string. Okay, yeah, I think that should set up our agent now. Now we can go on and create our network. That is this whole network. We can set up our router to decide which agent to call. I mean, in our case, we just have one agent, right? But I'll show you. If you want, you can create multiple agents over here as well. So right below this, inside of our documentation, let's see here, networks. So we need to use this create network function. So let me just copy it up and paste it right here. Let's just call it content creation network. I'm going to name it content creation assistant. And instead of these agents, I'm going to provide it with this content creator agent, just like this. Now, why I've named this network? So that it shows inside of our ingest logs. And then after this, we will take router, which will decide which agent to call or when to stop calling the agent, right? So now it takes a callback, and it takes a bunch of things over here in the params, like call count, which means how many times agents have run, input, the input that we will be taking from the user, network, which contains state, agents, and history, last result, output from, that is the output from the previous agent. If we have multiple agents, like the example that I showed you for the travel agent, it can probably book a flight and then, you know, take that result and book hotels, something like that. So this is where last result comes into picture. If you want me to create more in-depth video around this, creating a full-length application, let me know in the comments down below. So for us, we will be using network because we'll be using the state of the network, right? So if you remember, we have set this completed. Let me just minimize this. Inside of our tool, we have set the completed to be true, right? So we need to check if the content creation is done or not. So I'll say const is completed, network.state.kv.get, and we want completed, right? And I'm gonna say if is completed is not true, then return the agent again, right? This agent. You will keep on calling this agent until the content creation is true or the content creation is completed. And if it is completed, I'm just going to console log task completed, stopping execution, and I'm going to return undefined. That is, no agent will be returned. Okay. Now, in the end, again, we will now see for the agent, you can have different models if you want. For the LLM, for controlling the network, if you want, you can have a different model over here as well. So after this, the default model is going to be Anthropic Claude 3.5 Sonnet latest, just like before. And this is the LLM that will handle whole of our content creation process. That is our network. Now, what if you had multiple agents over here, right? Let me just comment this router out. You would write something like this. You would take network. I'm checking like the content type. And I would recommend you guys to make this change over here. That if the content type provided is technical, it will call a different agent. If content type is marketing, it will call a different agent, else the general writing agent, right? So probably you can try something like this. You can tweak these system prompts for every single agent. Awesome. Cool then. Now that we have created our network as well, let's just go on and run it. So I'll say const server equals create server, which will be called from @ingest/agentkit/server, something like this. So inside of it, I'm gonna say networks to be content creation network. And then after this, I'll say server dot listen, and you can listen on any port, right? But 3010 is what's recommended for ingest. So I'll have a callback over here. If you want, you can provide some console logs over here. So I'll provide some helpful console logs for user to understand. So this is optional again, this complete console log step, but I'm just providing these so that you guys can also understand what will happen. So content creation agent running on this local host, we will connect to Neon Postgres. Then I've given some setup instruction on how they need to call this. So let me just go on and run this. You can ignore all of these things, right? I'll just show you first. So let's go to our terminal, and we've already added this start script right here. So I'll say npm start, and notice, there we go. It shows connected to Neon MCP server, content creation agent running. So let me just open this local host first. It actually should be /API/ingest. Yes, you can see it's running. So I think I should say /API/ingest over here. Then it tells us that we need to configure, not Neon API key. It should be Smithry API key. So API key and Anthropic API key. And then we need to run this npx ingest CLI at latest dev, right? For running ingest locally. So I'm going to run this right here. It's asking us to proceed. Yes. So basically we are installing the ingest CLI so that we can run our agent locally. After this, we are going to be deploying our agent as well. So, okay, looks like it's running. Let's go to this local host. Okay, there we are. Let's go to our apps. Yes, we can see our Agentkit. Let's click on functions. There we go. There is our agent. And I'd like to mention one thing. If you want, you can obviously go on and create a UI on top of it as well. You can check out my previous tutorials that I've made using Inngest to understand how you can go on and create a UI on top of it and use it inside of a Next.js app probably, right? So let's click on invoke, and I'm going to be saying input, create a content on YouTuber roadside coder. Let's see what it gives us. Invoke function. Let's see if we get any error. So, okay, looks like it is executed. It's using the model. It's listing my Neon projects. Okay, yes, we got all the projects right here. Cool. It is going to be creating the project, and looks like it has created the project. Awesome. Now I guess it's going to be writing content for us. It's going to be running some SQL transactions. Okay. Looks like something failed over here as well. Invalid arguments for tool run SQL. Okay, so I guess it is failing. Let me just cancel it and let me check what's going on. Now, first thing first, if we go on and check inside of our Neon console, you can see we have this content management project created right here. So this is a good news. Let's go to the tables. Has it created the tables for us? Yes, it did. It has created a table, but I guess it failed somewhere where it needs to run the SQL and it needs to push the content inside of our database. So this is good news that we have been successful configuring our MCP with our agent. Let's try to figure out what's the bug over here. I actually don't think there's any bug. So actually I checked and it was my bad because I had set some limit on my API usage inside of the Claude console. So you don't need to worry about it since you wouldn't have set it. So let's try it again, and let's try it with something more generic this time. So create a short content around React.js. So I'm gonna click on invoke function. So let's see. Okay, so looks like it's running. It is listing my Neon projects. And since it has created the project earlier, I believe it should not need to create the project again. Okay, now content creator is doing its thing. Now notice how step by step it is performing all of these things, right? It is running the SQL now, what it needs to do to store our content inside of our database. Okay, and finalization looks like it is done. Let's go on and see. So there we go. Inside of our database, we have this content, understanding React.js, a quick guide. We have the content right here. Awesome. The complete content has been written by it. It has also defined the topic, the content type, word count, the keywords that we need, right? Imagine if we were to make this a front-end application, how cool this would look. And again, if you want me to do this, let me know in the comments down below, because I want to just keep this video around MCPs and creating AI agents. If you want me to create a front-end around these things as well, let me know in the comments below. And notice over here, it has given me the research sources that it used. It used the web sources, right? So there we go. It has used the React's official documentation. We can also add, probably a URL or something over here, so it can add the URL from where it took it. So let's quickly go on and deploy it. Deploy our agent so that we can use it from anywhere. Now, obviously, since this is just a function right now, an ingest Agentkit function, we would need to deploy it as a web service, right? So I'm just gonna use render to do that. So render cloud application platform. Let's click on sign in. Let's sign in with GitHub. And let's first push our code to GitHub. So I'm gonna create a new repository. Let's say content creation agent. Let's click on create repository. And I'm gonna run git init. But before that, let me just create a .git ignore file where we can add things like node module so that it does not get pushed. Also .env, right? We don't want these two things to be pushed to GitHub. Now let's run git init, and it has initialized our git repository. I'll say git add dot git commit dash for message. I'll say content creation agent. And let me just connect it with my GitHub repository by doing git remote add origin. So paste it right here and git push origin master. Press enter. And now it should have been pushed right here. Let's refresh it. Yes, it is pushed. Let's go back to the rendered dashboard. So I've logged in. Let's click on add new and click on web service because this is obviously an API. So click on content creation agent. You can put any name that you want over here. Let's see. For the start command, we need to say npm start. Okay. Then we're going to choose the free tier. Let's add all of our environment variables. Also, before this, we need to get our environment variables from Inngest. So let's open ingest.com, sign in quickly. And over here, you will see this button. Just click on it. We need to get our event key and the signing key. So click on event keys. Let's create the event key. I'll say content agent, press create, copy this key and paste it right here. Inside the docs, you can see ingest API key and ingest signing key. So I'll take this one is ingest API key. And I also need to get the ingest signing key, right? So ingest signing key will be right over here in the signing keys. And there we go. Just copy it up. If you want, you can create a new signing key and I'll paste it right over here. Something like this. And let's just copy all of these things and then go back to render and paste it right here. So all of our environment variables and click on deploy web service and let's wait. You can see it is starting to build it. Okay, build successful. Now it is deploying it. No open ports detected. Oh, yeah, I made a mistake actually. So we need to cancel this deployment right now. What we need to do is we need to go to index.ts file and we need to provide the ports. So I'll say const port equals process.env.port, whatever port that is provided to us by render, or 3010, right? So we'll take this port and put it right there. If it's not present, then we're gonna have 3010. So let's just push it again. So I'll say git add dot git commit dash m, change port and git push origin master and press enter and it should be pushed now. Okay, now let's go back to render and let's see if, okay, so it has started deploying again. So this is a good thing about render. Similar to Vercel, like if you push a new commit, it will start deploying again. So let's wait. And there we go. It is done. And looks like our console logs have been working as well. So let's see, available at your primary URL. If I click on over here, let's go to /API/ingest, press enter. Yes, it is working. Let's take this URL. Now what you need to do is go to Inngest's cloud, go to their homepage and click on sync new app and just paste this right here and click on sync app. It should be ingest sync app. Yep, there we go. We have our apps. We have one function found, content creation agent, and you can click on invoke right here and invoke this function right here by adding that input and stuff, right? So inside of it, I'm going to say input and we can provide whatever content that we want to create over here. And it will be running over here in the runs. Awesome. We have successfully created our very first AI agent. If you want me to create a full-fledged travel app, just like the example that I told you at the beginning of this video, let me know in the comments down below and I will create a complete Next.js app using Inngest, Agentkit, MCPs, and all of those things, right? Because my aim is to make you guys better and better in AI world. Hit that like button if you like this video and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more such awesome tutorials.